This is Saint Joseph the Hesychast. He died in 1953 on Mount Athos. Now, here's the question I'm going to try and explore. How could I, a Byzantine Catholic, 75-year-old abstract artist, be attracted to this saint who was an extreme ascetic? That's what we're going to talk about. Okay, yes, this is a completely amateur. Okay, but this isn't to say not heartfelt. I don't even know how I ran into St. Joseph, but I did. And I read a biography about him by his disciple, St. Ephrem. Now, Mount Athos is a huge Orthodox foundation in Greece, though they are their own specific and separate entity. They're famously known because no women are allowed to visit. Once I read this biography about St. Joseph, I was changed. Okay? Can't get away from it. I was changed. All right, and I've read his letters. I've read his teachings that have been collected, and I've watched a fabulous 1-hour documentary called St. Joseph the Hesychast, the movie. That's how it's headed, which is not just worth worth watching, but repeat viewings. When I watch it now, I keep my chutney, my prayer rope, in hand because I'm praying Jesus prayers even as I watch. But I can't get away from the question, why? Why? This is extreme hesychism. Now, the life story of the saint, you'll get that from the documentary or from your own investigation. The point is, while a young man, he went to Mount Athos, and he himself was disappointed in what he found, okay, because he was looking for the Desert Fathers, that spirit, that extreme kind of give it all that you have and more. And he didn't find it there. So he left and came back later and still didn't find what he was looking for. He never had a so-called, well, I guess he did have an elder, but not of the type that he was looking for. There were monks there who had very high degrees of sanctity and were living in extreme asceticism, but they didn't want disciples. Okay, so that door was shut. So the suffering that the saint embraces and runs after for the sake of stripping himself to be empty, to be an empty vessel for Christ, is astonishing. But again, to fill that story in, you need to either read and research or watch that fabulous documentary. Now, I'm going to actually mention this documentary a little bit. What makes a great documentary? Okay, in my mind, the content of the documentary, that makes up 80% of its greatness. If it doesn't have what I consider great content, then I'm not likely to watch it. I might watch it because you can actually overcome great content with other issues. And I'm going to mention them because this movie that I'm talking about, the whole production enhances the story. The narrator's voice, I would follow him anywhere. Okay, the photography, the use of photography, the use of actual live action, acting it out. It's so well done. I mean, who would have expected that? It's extremely well done. And they do a lot of that in this documentary, which I wouldn't think that I would be attracted to, but I was. So that's the concept. And the music in the background, oh my goodness. So all of those work together to create something extraordinary. All right, now to the key question, but why me? Why, over a year after being exposed, so to speak, to St. Joseph, am I still reading his life story, reading biographies by other people about him, and basically turning into his disciple? Okay, well, the answer to that is kind of complicated, but let's see if it makes sense to you. From early on in my life, and I'm thinking back to childhood, back when I would say to my mother, I don't want another dress. I don't want another toy. Okay, I had this attraction to simplicity, which became very much embedded in who I am. So I'm not a person after possessions at all. I won't develop that, but it's true. Now, in my 30s, I began to think about this. Why? Why am I attracted to simplicity so seriously? There really wasn't any satisfaction about it. I mean, it didn't bring any peace or joy to me. I just saw it as who I am, and I have to go this way. Fortunately, I married someone along those lines, which helped a lot. Our children, however, they would have another story because that extreme simplicity affected them. Now, it wasn't until I was in my 60s that I hit on a powerful insight, which was that the kind of simplicity I'm drawn to, it actually has nothing to do with having less stuff. And here's the part that was a revelation for me. It's about being less of myself, being more empty so that I can receive Christ. The scripture of he must increase and so that I might decrease. Or maybe it's the other way around. Okay, St. John. I understood for the first time in my life, that's the simplicity I want. Okay, more of Christ, less of me. Okay, so the simplicity is an interior simplicity. Now, I was in my 60s when I first, that thought came to me, which I consider from the Lord. It was another 7 years before I put it to, I unpacked it even farther and came to understand that this attraction to interior simplicity basically was a vocation. So I have to respond to it. I can't just take wonderful idea, that's great, I'll put it in my file. No, my life needs to change. And that's where I bumped into the word, well, actually I bumped into it many years before, but I applied it here, kenosis, self-emptying. Okay, that's a St. Joseph the Hesychast word. That is definitely embedded in his message, like he's living that message, self-emptying. Okay, now that has become a central part of my life. And now here's the thing. Kenosis isn't the end of the journey either, but that's another story. Okay, but that's why I believe I was so drawn to St. Joseph, the Hesychast. Now, I didn't know that, that this all took time. Now, because I'm an interior reflective person, and I have plenty of time, okay, I eventually got to that thought that I'm attracted to him because my vocation is to be empty, and he is living that life in the most incredible way. So you could very well say that St. Joseph the Hesychast, who basically died because of the rigor of his sacrifices, which he was led to continue despite medical advice and common sense. This was what God gave him to do. And he attracted disciples who went on to become leaders, not just leaders at Mount Athos, but revitalized Mount Athos. I think there are 2,000 monks at Mount Athos at this point. Now, there are dozens of monasteries there, but that is a great, that's evidence of the effect that Joseph the Hesychast had, because these elders who went on to completely rejuvenate Mount Athos, they all got their teaching and their formation and their spirituality from St. Joseph the Hesychast, whom they reference. Okay, so there we have it. I am drawn to the life of an extreme ascetic, not because I'm going to be in vigil tonight for 12 hours and 9 of them are going to be, praying the Jesus prayer, and I'm not going to be starving no. But it's a concept of making efforts. Now, not making efforts, so let's see how much I can suffer, but how willing am I to surrender myself, my passions, my desires? Of course, food is way up there. You can see how healthy I am. Okay, how willing am I to surrender myself to receive more of Christ? Well, at 75, I look at myself as, clearly the last part of my life. So I want to get serious about this. Thanks for watching.